Hello there, everyone. If you're watching this video, then you are part of the TTOR army, an army that is building itself up one subscriber at a time. Now, before we get into the topic of today's video, which is Professor Stick committing the equivocation fallacy in regards to the word science, me and Spider-Man here, we want to talk about a couple of things with you that are very important. First of all, YouTube censorship has been going on since 2015, 2016, and is only getting worse over time. And as a result, it's not a good long-term investment. So if you're a fan of TTOR content and you want to follow me at a place other than YouTube so that you can get away from their censorship, there are two places in particular that you should definitely go and check out. First off is my Rumble channel. Rumble is a YouTube alternative run by Donald Trump's media company, and it is very developed as a site in terms of competing with YouTube. Full HD video capacity, including 4K. You can live stream. You have public playlists. The comment section's pretty simple and easy to use. It's a good site as far as a product goes. And I have been getting good view counts on my Rumble videos over the last several months. As a matter of fact, if you scroll through my Rumble library, you'll see that my Rumble videos are getting just as many and sometimes more views than the YouTube versions of those same videos. And over the past 7 months, I've seen my Rumble following grow from 20 to 72 subs. I'm trying to make that push to hit 100 subs on Rumble, so if you want to help me grow my Rumble channel so that I can reach triple-digit subscribers on that site, I would encourage you to join Rumble, create an account, and subscribe to TTOR to help my sub count grow. And then, of course, share all my Rumble videos as far and wide as you can. Rumble is also one of the two websites I exclusively live stream to on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you'd like to watch my live streams, Rumble is one of the places you can do it. The other place you can watch my live streams at is Quarter, which is an open source alt-tech alternative to YouTube that I started a year and a half ago. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one who made and runs this site. It's not a site someone else made and that I'm basically a spokesperson of. I am the one who actually started this site with the help of my tech friend Josh. I am the one who actually runs it. And because I run it, you can be safe here as a content creator. I am a content creator just like you, and so therefore I understand how important freedom of speech is, which is why on Quarter you can say and do whatever you want as long as there's no pornography on the screen or in the audio. So if you want to sit around and bash God all day, you can go right ahead. You want to make videos calling me stupid? Go right ahead. If you want to make videos filled with all kinds of profanity, knock yourself out. You can do all those things and way more than that on Quarter. And Quarter is feature-rich and functional like you would expect from a site like YouTube. Full HD video upload capacity, including 4K uploads, live streaming, public playlists, an easy-to-use comment moderation system, but it also has stuff that YouTube doesn't have and that Rumble doesn't have, like the ability to restream to any streaming site on the internet for free. You also have the ability to create public chat rooms or video call rooms where you can have video calls with friends, family, co-workers, followers, etc., and you can live stream to your channel from these rooms. There's also Quarter Bucks, which is an insight currency that you earn by getting views on your videos, and once you get enough Quarter Bucks, you can use them to promote your whole channel or individual videos on the front page of the site. So in addition to all the freedom of speech that Quarter gives you, you also have all the features and functionality you could ever want from a video sharing site, and more. And in the future, there will be even more features than this once the ability to implement them becomes a thing. So if you're looking for a real free speech site that is feature-rich and functional and is even more free speech oriented than even sites like Rumble, I would encourage you to create an account on Quarter, sign up there today, and if you're a content creator, upload your content to Quarter, share the links to your Quarter videos, share your Quarter channel, encourage others to join Quarter, and we can make this site something special. Now that we got this out of the way, let's talk about the subject of today's video, which is Professor Stick and how he committed the equivocation fallacy in regards to the term science. So the video he did is from 1 month ago, November 1st, 2023, so literally 1 month ago at the time of this recording, and that video is called Creationist Does a Jebait. That video has been viewed 14,000 times in the 1 month that it's been out, and the first 63 seconds of this video is all we're going to be responding to today, because it's all we really need to respond to. Plus, I have other things to do today. So, with that being said, let's get watching, shall we?
You know, whenever I hear a religious person say, God and science don't contradict each other, I just roll my eyes because that is quite literally the most copium thing I've ever heard. But of course, these people aren't as bad as young Earth creationists who take the Bible quite literally word for word. But either way, it doesn't sit right with me. In a way, it feels like they're giving credit to God for things that hardworking scientists have accomplished, you know? Anyway.
Now, when I see Professor Stick claim that Christians and creationists like myself are giving God credit for things that hardworking scientists accomplished, I'm a little puzzled. Because people like me, primarily, we just reject evolution, billions of years, and Big Bang cosmology and say that God spoke the universe, the earth, the sea, and everything that is in those three things into existence over the course of 6 days, roughly 6,000 years ago. So when he says that we're giving God credit for things that scientists accomplished, is he saying that evolution and billions of years and Big Bang cosmology is the creation of scientists and not a naturally occurring phenomena that scientists discovered over time? The way Professor Stick said that just raises all kinds of questions like these in my head, and I had to make a comment on it. But let's watch the rest of the clip that I want to respond to today.
Anyway, let's take a look at this video.
For some reason, we got this idea in our head that it has to be either God or science. On one side, we say, well, everything we've learned in science kind of disproves and explains away God, so we don't really need God anymore. On the other side, we say, well, I really believe in God, so I'm just going to kind of ignore everything we've learned in science over the past 500 years because, well, science is probably just wrong.
You know what, that's actually kind of accurate. Many religious people simply reject science, but they don't actually reject all of it. It's more like they cherry pick things that they prefer to believe, because they will still embrace things like medicine when they're sick or use their phones when they need to make a call.
So Professor Stick claims that when creationists and Christians like myself, we use smartphones, we use modern medicine, we make videos on laptops like I am now, we're being total hypocrites when it comes to science because we're accepting these things, but we're rejecting evolution, billions of years, and Big Bang cosmology, which allegedly has the same kind of science behind it. And this is simply wrong. This is actually an equivocation fallacy. An equivocation fallacy is where, in logic, equivocation is an informal fallacy resulting from the use of a particular word expression in multiple senses within an argument. Well, how is Professor Stick committing the equivocation fallacy here? Well, you see, the science behind our smart technology and computers, for example, is a very different science than what's allegedly behind evolution, billions of years, and Big Bang cosmology. The kind of technology we use today and how it was created is actually engineering, which is an exact science that leaves no room for guesswork. You have to get things exactly right in order for it to function as intended. Otherwise, the whole thing breaks down. Evolution, on the other hand, in billions of years in Big Bang cosmology, is not based on any observational science at all. It's actually a historical science, a philosophy of science, and you do not have to take my word for it. Here on screen, we have a 2009 article from Scientific American titled Darwin's Influence on Modern Thought, and the author of the article is Ernest Mayer. Now, in case you do not know, Ernest Mayer is a die-hard evolutionist, and you don't have to take my word for that either. Here I have an article from edge.org called Ernest Mayer, What Evolution Is. And when you go down to the actual interview that Edge did with Ernest Mayer, you see that the first question that Edge asked Ernest Mayer was, to what extent has the study of evolutionary biology been the study of ideas about evolutionary biology? Is evolution the evolution of ideas, or is it a fact? Ernest Mayer said in response, that's a very good question, Because of the historically entrenched resistance to the thought of evolution documented by modern-day creationism, evolutionists have been forced into defending evolution and trying to prove that it is a fact and not a theory. Certainly the explanation of evolution and the search for its underlying ideas has been somewhat neglected, and my new book, the title of which is What Evolution is precisely attempting to rectify that situation. It attempts to explain evolution. As I say in the first section of the book, I don't need to prove it again. Evolution is so clearly a fact that you need to be committed to something like a belief in the supernatural if you are at all in disagreement with evolution. It is a fact, and we don't need to prove it anymore. Nonetheless, we must explain why it happened and how it happens. So Ernest Mayer said evolution is such a clear fact of reality that you need to be committed to something like supernaturalism or creationism in order to not believe in evolution. So pretty safe to say that Ernest Mayer was a die-hard evolutionist. But when you go back to the Scientific American article written by Ernest Mayer, what you find is something very interesting. And I'll read these two paragraphs so that you understand the full picture. Ernst Mayer wrote, Darwin founded a new branch of life science, evolutionary biology. 4 of his contributions to evolutionary biology are especially important as they held considerable sway beyond that discipline. The first is the non-constancy of species, or the modern conception of evolution itself. The second is the notion of branching evolution, implying the common descent of all species of living things on the earth from a single unique origin. Up until 1859, all evolutionary proposals, such as that of naturalist Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, instead endorsed linear evolution, a teleological march toward greater perfection that had been in vogue since Aristotle's concept of scala naturae, the chain of being. Darwin further noted that evolution must be gradual, with no breaks or discontinuities. Finally, he reasoned that the mechanism of evolution was natural selection. These 4 insights served as the foundation for Darwin's founding of a new branch of the philosophy of science, a philosophy of biology. Despite the passing of a century before this new branch of philosophy fully developed, its eventual form is based on Darwinian concepts. For example, Darwin introduced historicity into science. Evolutionary biology, in contrast with physics and chemistry, is a historical science. The evolutionist attempts to explain events and processes that have already taken place. Laws and experiments are inappropriate techniques for the explication of such events and processes. Instead, one constructs a historical narrative consisting of a tentative reconstruction of the particular scenario that led to the events one is trying to explain. So according to Ernst Mayer, evolution is a philosophy of science, a philosophy of biology, and more importantly, evolutionary biology is a historical science that is not based on observational science and is actually inappropriate to use observational science to try and prove that evolutionary biology is true, because evolutionary biology is a historical science, not an observational one. So the most diehard evolutionist on the planet, Ernst Mayer, said that evolution is a historical science, not an observational science. Therefore, since evolution at its core is not based on observational science, and the creation of our smart devices and our computers, and to a lesser extent modern medicine, is based on observational science, this means that Professor Stick is wrong when he claims that people like me are hypocrites for rejecting evolution but accepting smart devices and my computer. He's absolutely wrong. He's actually committing the equivocation fallacy, because the science behind our smart devices is not at all the science behind evolution. It's not even close. But as far as cherry-picking things from science that you want to believe, well, Professor Stick himself is guilty of doing exactly that. I'd like to turn your attention to my 2019 BitChute video, Professor Stick Dismisses Actual Scientists, Blindly Accepts Big Bang Theory. and it is at the 10-minute and 2-second mark of this video, all the way through, I think, the 13:31 mark of the video, where we see 2019 Justin exposing Professor Stick for dismissing scientists who don't say what he wants to hear and accepting scientists that he does want to hear because they say what he wants to believe. Here we go. Take it away, 2019 Justin.
But let's get on to the next clip.
One of the early pioneers of inflation theory was Paul Steinhardt. Having worked on this for over 20 years, he admitted that it really has no scientific basis, relying on convenient and unprovable assumptions.
Okay, you can't just say, well, look, this one particular physicist has a few problems with inflation, therefore inflation altogether is false. Not only is that an appeal to authority, it's also just lazy. You're not even telling us exactly why cosmic inflation is flawed.
So, Professor Stick says that, oh, well, you know, it's just one scientist who thinks that inflation is flawed and false, and you didn't even explain why inflation was false. Are you kidding me, Professor Stick? This isn't just some Johnny-come-lately scientist saying that inflation theory and ultimately Big Bang cosmology is not based on observational science. It's one of the pioneers of inflation theory. One of the pioneers of the whole blasted thing. And one of the pioneers of inflation theory is telling the world that inflation theory is not based on observational science. It's based on unproven and unprovable assumptions. Assumptions that fall in line with the evolution paradigm of history. As for the creationists not proving why inflation cosmology is false, he made it clear in the clip that Professor Stick was responding to. The flaw with inflation cosmology that makes it false is that it's not based on observational science, and that's according to one of the pioneers of inflation theory. But according to Professor Stick, one of the pioneers of inflation theory saying that inflation theory is not based on any observational science and it's only based on unproven and unprovable assumptions, well, that doesn't count as evidence of inflation theory being false. But notice the other thing that Professor Stick said in this video. He says that the creationists he's responding to, quoting one of the pioneers of the inflation theory, saying that inflation theory is not based on observational science, he says that this creationist is appealing to authority and that he's just lazy. In order to see the utter hypocrisy of that claim, check out this next clip.
Paul Steinhardt, the man you mentioned, is indeed one of the more vocal critics when it comes to cosmic inflation. He claims that inflation is unfalsifiable due to its nature to produce multiverses and therefore too flexible. However, despite a number of physicists opposing the idea of inflation, the majority of them do accept it.
Unbelievable. So this creationist that Professor Stick is responding to points out that one of the pioneers of inflation theory itself said that inflation theory is not based on observational science and it's actually based on unproven and unprovable assumptions. Professor Stick looks at him and says, well, that's just appealing to authority and the fact that you did that shows that you're lazy. But then what does Professor Stick do? He turns right around and says, well, the majority of the scientific and academic community says that inflation theory is true, therefore it must be. He's appealing to authority on steroids, which by his own standard he just set to this creationist means that Professor Stick is one lazy bum.
And he still is a lazy bum, ladies and gentlemen. That is absolutely true. But notice how in the past, Professor Stick literally picked and chose which parts of science to believe and which to reject. So when a creationist said that inflation theory was not true, Professor Stick said, give me evidence. And then when that creationist said, well, one of the founders of inflation theory said that inflation theory is based on no scientific, no observational evidence, it's based on unprovable assumptions. And Professor Stick says, that's just appealing to authority and proves that you're lazy. But then Professor Stick turns right around and says, well, the majority of scientists say that inflation theory is true, therefore it is. He literally commits the same appeal to authority fallacy that he accused the creationist of in order to accept and proclaim that inflation theory was true. Which, of course, as 2019 Justin pointed out, means that by Professor Stick's own standard, he's a lazy bum. But the greater point of showing you that is that Professor Stick himself will pick and choose which parts of science to believe and which to reject. So, if the majority of scientists say that something is true, he will reject the dissenting scientists who say that it's false, even if the dissenting scientist in question is the person who is involved with making up the whole theory that everyone is saying is true. So when the founder of the theory says that the theory is false because it's based on unproven and unprovable assumptions, well, that doesn't count because of all the people who said that his theory is true. So hopefully, as you can see in this video, Professor Stick definitely committed the equivocation fallacy when he called Christians like myself hypocrites for using smartphones, using modern medicine, but rejecting evolution, billions of years, and Big Bang cosmology. It was the equivocation fallacy he committed because he literally equated things that were created using observational science with something that is, by definition, not based on observational science and is actually a historical science. And we also saw from my old BitChute video clip that we played that Professor Stick himself is guilty of the very thing he accuses people like me of doing, mainly picking and choosing which parts of science he wants to believe and which he doesn't based on his personal preferences. So if one of the founders of inflation theory says that inflation theory is not based on observational science and is based on unprovable assumptions, Professor Stick says, well, that guy's wrong, and inflation theory is actually true because the majority of scientists say it's true. Which is literally the appeal to authority fallacy that he accuses creationists of committing on a regular basis. Well, folks, I'm done here with this video. Hopefully, I will see you this coming Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when I live stream on my Rumble and on my Quarter channels. It will be a TTOR show podcast episode, so definitely tune in if you're interested in that. And see you in the next video.